So, good morning.
Ken, good to see you
How are
again.
you doing? Um, there's some things I just wanted to chat with you about regarding your life. I think a lot of things, the last video really had to do with stuff that I was talking about, but knowing you personally and knowing a little bit about your story. Now, you are currently married to Carol.
Mhm.
You guys were both widows,
Right,
and then
10 years.
you found each other.
Yep.
That was a good find. That was better than gold dust up in some creek in California.
So that's a miracle. I'm in Pennsylvania and she's here, yes.
Yeah. So you and Carol have enjoyed a very, very good relationship. And so this is not about you and Carol. But I really enjoyed the story that prompted a lot of this, and that was that you were married to Patty, and that she, the point is you're both widows, so Patty passed away, but there was a lot of neat things that were going on in your marriage to Patty that I think were actually very foundational to you being here today in that place that you're at, in a place where God's your friend, and a lot of things worked out really well, and maybe Carol wouldn't have wanted to have anything to do with you if the foundation hadn't been correct.
Well, this is kind of interesting because that's what I tease Carol about a lot. We were both trained by the best. She was married 30 years to her previous husband, and he passed away, and I was married 47 years to Patty. And that's what I joke about because it's such a blessing to have another chance, and for the idea of being trained by the best. I was trained by Patty, and she was trained by Dave, so that works out good.
Yeah, and I think that's really key. Is some folks feel like whatever the circumstance in the past doesn't matter. I'm going forward, and this is all going to be new. But
It formulates.
But you present something I think is contrary to that, not argumentative to that, but very contrary to that. That I believe too is how I dealt with that has a lot to do with going forward.
Building block.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
So, two parts to this is one of my favorite was talking about your hard years when you guys were together, and Patty probably being willing to escape if she could. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we got married. Matter of fact, is not the normal way. We ran away to get married. I was 2 years in the Air Force.
You eloped?
And yeah, we eloped. Couldn't get married in Pennsylvania until you were 21 without your parents. So one of Patty's friends eloped, went to Virginia. Well, that's pretty easy. So I was 18 years old and we got married. Well, actually 19 because I was in the service for a year, and then we got married, and then she went from Pennsylvania to South Dakota. That's where I was stationed in the Air Force. So that was an odd way to start, but yet I had her parents' permission, and my parents weren't real keen on being married. So that's how that
Permission
started.
after the fact, or
Well, before.
oh, before?
After the fact.
Save us money,
mother
go ahead and
came along.
elope. That's a
Well,
great
her
way.
dad certainly appreciated he let me use his car. But yeah, saved both parties a lot of money.
But it wasn't too many years later that you guys found yourself in some just difficult situation. What was that?
Oh, while I was in the service, being a new mom, newly married, in a strange land for her, being in the Air Force, I had my duties. I'm working and come home and lived off base. So there was a time there where having her first child, she was, a young mother, 19 years old, without her mother did come out when the baby was born. That was my oldest boy, Brian, was born. And she came out and helped. Well, then she's gone. Well, that kind of
So maybe she was expecting more.
stimulates a lot of help, for when her mom's there. But then her mother was gone, and then, man, if I could go home and be with mom, that would be the answer. And we talked about it later, and she was ready to go home to mom, but we were 1,400 miles away, so we just didn't hop in and go back to mom's for help or have a grandma there handy. And I just think that the group that we were with, we were all in the same boat. We're all in the service, not making any money. And the girls kind of stuck together. They exchanged clothes and cribs and everything's back and forth like you would with one big family. And I think that was the thing that kept us and enabled us to be able to work through the hardship of her wanting to run home to mom. Because if we'd have been within 50 miles of town, she would have gone home to mom and I'd been. And I don't know how that would have worked out. I don't think it would have worked out too
So
well.
you've found a community.
Yes.
Okay.
Was
it a spiritual
call it
community
like
or just an army
No, I
community?
call it like a support group. It's
Okay.
not like a Bible study where you have people that are helping each other or a church group. But in that sense, I wasn't in the church at that time, and I wasn't serving the Lord. So that was our support group. And I think that was the key to being able to work through all the problems.
And the support group they were all trying to stay married,
Same boat,
same boat,
had kids,
had kids.
worked for the same boss there for
Right.
us.
Right.
Yeah.
But your support group wasn't people that were trying to get out of their marriage either. They were people
No,
that
they
were
were
committed to.
working it out.
Yeah.
And they were in the same thing, their family, of course, they're all, for them to go home wasn't an option.
Yeah.
It was hard.
I have strong feelings about where you get your, where you get your encouragement from, where you get your counsel from. If you're hanging around with people that want out of their marriages,
Yeah.
just not a good place to be in. I think there are, just like in your situation, but let's use your situation exactly, is that you were in this boat where you had other people that were committed, that you came in, they came alongside, you all came alongside each other with not a hint of, I want out of this thing, or how can we all get together, buy a car, and all go home.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's really, really important. Now, fast forward a little bit.
Put you in a position where you have to work it out,
Right,
not give up.
right.
It wasn't negative, it was all pretty much positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I met that couple in church that just said, they were married for 42 years, probably 44 now. And his wife's name was Carol, his name was Dave, I think. And I said, well, what's the secret to that many years? He goes, you just don't give up.
Yeah.
Simple sounding,
Yes.
but simply true.
Yes.
So fast forward a little bit. It was
Yes.
years later. I don't know how long. I'll let you fill in the gaps on this, but you guys found yourself in trouble again. What was going on?
Yeah, I was in my mid-30s. We were both working at a job. I got out of the Air Force and I got hired with a contractor, and my job was secure. I had the same job, worked for the same company, but yet we weren't serving the Lord. I wasn't going to church, and my parents were good grandparents. They took our kids to church Sunday, and Patty and I, that was kind of a thing. I said, "Oh, that's our day to go play." So, mom and dad are watching the kids, So I wasn't in church, and I was brought up in a Christian family, and I knew what was right and how wrong I was. But living that style of life, we got into our own lifestyle. I go to work, and then she had a job sometimes. Mostly, she was a stay-at-home mom. She was a great housewife and took care of the homemaker. She did a good job on that with the kids. But yet, she had her girlfriends, and I had my guy friends, and that's where we drifted apart because we weren't doing things together. I felt that as a father and responsible, we'd go on vacation with the kids and give them the attention. But yet, as a couple, we weren't dating or doing it. It was almost like we'd get home the fastest to get the keys to the car and be gone. That's how our
It's
relationship.
interesting. I read a book by a guy that, and this was really news to me regarding your comment. Was he said for guys, when we come home and she's like, I can see Carol in there. When we come home and she's just around, we're like, okay, this is good. We're having time together. And he said for women it was totally different. It wasn't just that, and that's how us guys are built. It's just knowing the car's full of gas, and
Oh yeah.
knowing that the bills are paid for, and there's my lovely wife. But he said for women it's like you guys are home for 4 hours and we didn't talk or we didn't communicate together. How different it is for us and them, and how aware we need to be of the fact that they need that relationship. That sometimes we just go, "Hey, we're close. We're 10
Yeah.
feet away."
Yeah. I was here. Right?
Yeah.
Why did you talk to me?
Right. So
Yeah.
so what happened?
Well, as I said, we drifted apart, and we got to a point where we thought it'd be better to be separated or divorced. We were talking divorced, and it got that bad. And I remember I had 2 boys, and they were 7 and 9 at the time. And I could just remember, I could picture everything in the living room where we were talking. We were having a family meeting, and that's what Patty. She had the wisdom, I think, to say,
I'm going to say
if you're
yes.
going to,
I'm going to say yes to that.
yeah, if you're going to go through with this, you tell the kids. And I thought, my mind said, I thought, oh, I can be a dad, I can be a father, and I can do all the things, maybe do more things, with them. And so I didn't think, and I worked with, this is a bad thing with the guys I worked with, half of them were separated or had family problems or weren't living together. I saw how they worked out, and I said, well, they're surviving, they're still a dad.
Do you think when Patty said, "You go tell him I'm not going to go with you," do you think she was wanting the marriage to be together, really, way down deep inside?
Possibly. It was just I just think it was a God thing that gave her those words to put that, because as soon as I said, and we were in a family meeting, we were all, the boys, we were all together. It wasn't, I doing this, we were having a meeting to explain it, how simple it was to the boys to be separated, like it was no big deal. And as soon as I told the boys, I did what she said, and I said, well, Mom and I were going to get a divorce and live separate. And they just, both of them just started bawling their eyes out. I had no idea how that would affect them. And that was a God thing, because that really sparked my, shocked me how much that they cared. I thought, they're boys, they'll get over it. And, kids are supposed to be flexible and all the things you hear. Well, I didn't see that. They were in shock. And at that time, part of the problem, Patty had a problem with alcohol. And
We collectively?
well, we both drank, but Patty she had an issue where she could drink during the day, and that was her crutch.
Larry's coming
That
home.
was
I better
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
few.
that could have been part of it. But the point is, she got to a point where she just told the Lord, she said, either, cure me or kill me. She just said, I give up. I don't want any part of this. And God delivered her from alcohol.
See, now I'm just going to tell you 2 things that I believe. One is that as much as I would like that to happen for everybody, I don't know why. God's capable of doing that for everybody, but I don't hear stories like this very often. I wish I heard them every time. And the second thing that I really feel like, and I wasn't there, was she sincerely meant that.
Oh, yes.
That she was,
But, she gave up. When you're at the bottom and you can only look up, and all you can see, God's the only one there. Everybody else, there's no help.
I've had that feeling.
I've gone through, quitting things, and we all have habits we try to get rid of. And it doesn't work. Yeah, you're right about that. God works in different ways. Some people work through that their whole life.
Yeah.
But they're still can't.
And I have a hard time
They
explaining your
can't
story
be
to some
victorious. Yeah.
people because it's not a 12-step program, it's a 1-step
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what brought me back to the Lord, seeing God's handiwork in her life, seeing what He did. I said, to me, that was a miracle, because we struggled with this for 15 years. So it wasn't something that just happened. So for God to deliver her and deliver her from alcohol, and that was a miracle. That's when I saw God's work, and I thought, I'm not going to do anything to interrupt this. Lord changed my life, and that's what I actually made Jesus Lord of my life, and our marriage was totally healed from that time, and that was a whole new start. It was just like we were two new people, two just married again, and that was a change of our life.
Do you, does this, see again, this was a foundation to me of what brought you to today, which qualified you to be with Carol. That's just my personal opinion, is certain things qualify us to go forward.
Right.
Have you and the kids ever talked about that?
Oh,
Since?
If of course, I feel guilty because of living not a godly, not a responsible person, or taking my kids to church like my parents did. I feel guilty, but yet for the boys, both of them will tell you to this day, they saw the change in our life. They saw the change in our marriage and everything, and it didn't go back. That was one thing. Once we made that commitment, there's no more booze in the house, and I still joke about Patty poured all the booze down the drain. I said, well, we really don't have to do that. When I saw
she
her
did do
commitment,
that. Right?
Oh yeah, she did that, and I think, well, that's a pretty strong commitment, And so that was. I think the boys, both of my boys, will tell you that they saw the change, and how God changed our lives, and our marriage was totally different. It wasn't anything wishy-washy. Never went back.
Kind of a last little point is that, and I've felt this in my life, is that you say, God, rescue me from this problem, right? And then you get rescued from the problem, and because I believe He's faithful, and you get rescued from the problem, and then you go, thank you very much, and you go on your way.
Yeah.
You remember that story where out of the 10 guys that got
Right.
taken care of that day, only one came back and thanked him. So, but at one point, I thought, wait a minute, this is cheaping out, right? You helped me here. So, really, there's more involved than just thank you, see you later.
Right.
And the second thing I thought about was He changed the situation to be much better. I'm going back to this same life. How much better could He make my same life? How much better would it be to keep him going forward and not go back to this ordinary life, but maybe he would go, wait a minute, let me show you what we can do here now that you're back to normal. So
Yeah, I think that's knowing what your life was and the change. I didn't have any part of it. That was just it. Shut that door.
yeah, I've always liked that concept of, I always liked that part of the story where she says, you go tell him.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I think there was a lot of wisdom in that.
Wisdom. I think it was God's wisdom. I'm not sure how she felt there would be any change or anything, or what she expected. But certainly, I didn't expect to be that shocked at how much it affected the boys.
So, and here you are today. And anyway, just thank you for sharing this story. It's always been, I really do feel like you're a pretty, how would I say it? I just think that you're a good person in a lot of ways. And I think that you were presented with this issue about telling the kids, and you kind of started into it, and they started crying, and you went, wait a minute, I can't do this. And so it's a joy for me to hear about this. It's an encouragement to me. Maybe it'll encourage other people. I don't know what they'll get out of this story, but it just was an encouragement for me, for Patty, to walk away from this thing and say, okay, you're going to do it. Or it's...
Well, Ken, what I hope what people get from this is because with society now, it's so easy to walk away. In my mind at that time, I was thinking, well, this can't be so bad. Being a single dad, a single mom, I'm still your father, she's still your mom. Still be responsible and take care of you and a roof over their heads. I thought, well, the guys think that it's okay. But that was the easy, out, and then to stick with the marriage and work it out. And then,
So
I'm just-
easier on the front end, but way more harmful on the back end.
the end result of having to split up. You know all the stories of
Yeah.
families that that's what I always say. Divorce is never over with the family. Yeah, children. Right?
No, that's a little bit of my stories. I wish that we could have recouped that and put that back together again. That was my hope. Didn't work out that way for me, but I saw what happened to the family, and that's a good point. Easier done up front, but harmful effects for the rest of their lives versus doing the hard work up front, like working for your retirement, doing the hard work up front and then enjoying the benefits and the fruits thereafter. So,
Amen.
Yeah. All right, thank you. I appreciate you telling this story. That's how that works.
I don't know.